I think we think of delegation as this productivity hack. That's not true anymore. Delegation is a leadership strategy. If you can't delegate, you're going to struggle to lead the next generation.
Do you struggle with delegation? Do you struggle with figuring out what you should be doing and what you should be delegating, and you feel like it's holding you back because you have a little bit or maybe a huge control monster on your back? That's exactly what we're going to dive into on this episode and why it is critical for your success. We sit down with Alyssa Gulvas, managing partner with Farm Bureau, and we're going to discuss what agents should and should not be doing, what they should be delegating, and why it's so important. And we're going to be diving into some recruiting as well so that you are recruiting the absolute best talent and you never have to worry about being short-staffed. With that being said, let's start the show. Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your hosts, Michael and Courtney Weaver, and today we have a very special guest with us, Alyssa Gulvas. Alyssa, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Michael and Courtney. I'm excited to be here with you and share with the Buzz community.
Oh, we are super excited to have you on because you are the leader of over 150 agents, and I know we've got some really amazing stuff to talk about today. So everything from recruiting, delegation, how we're going to have success and crush it in the future. So
let's get into it. Alyssa, I want to hear a little bit about your story and how you got into insurance and kind of let's set it up on how we got to where we're at today.
Yeah, so my story is a little bit unique in terms of, well, I guess maybe not unique. I stumbled into insurance like most of us. I have a background in athletics, and I come from a small community. And I think really those two pieces are what set me up to ultimately have the relationships where somebody said my name in a room and recommended me for an opportunity. And isn't that how it works for so many of us, where we know somebody who knows somebody, and those relationships are king and set us up for a career in an industry that we maybe didn't expect, but ends up working out phenomenally for us. So I started with Farm Bureau Insurance. Actually, my 10-year anniversary is coming up here pretty soon. So yes.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Congrats.
I know. So I started as an insurance agency owner with Farm Bureau here in the state of Michigan. Did that for 4 years and then was ultimately tapped on the shoulder to move into the role of managing partner, where I now serve on a team of 5 individuals and we oversee 150 agency owners around the state here. So it's been a great ride. It was accidental, but I'm very happy to be here and serving people through the platform of insurance and through making an impact in that way.
So before we get into people recruiting, hiring, mistakes to avoid, which is going to be a lot of our conversations today, I'm curious because I know we have some listeners out there who really maybe are considering transitioning from agency ownership into more of a leadership position. I would love, before we get into actually like talking about people and talent, let's spend some time there on like what made that transition and why were you tapped on the shoulder? So if somebody's considering it, they're like, okay, these are the things I need to be focused on.
Yeah. And I think I was fortunately set up with that background of athletics that I talked about briefly. I was a varsity girls basketball coach. I was naturally wanting to raise my hand for coaching and leadership opportunities. I was an avid learner, trying to build relationships, build connections, ask questions of other people, seek out mentorship. Those things I think are what ultimately got me kind of noticed to be tapped on the shoulder. And I think they're all best practices and really go to speak to how do you position yourself to go from agency owner to more of a leadership role. And it's relationships. It's, are you continuing to invest in yourself so that you can then invest in others? So through learning, through reading, what are you spending your time on? And then ultimately, who are you surrounding yourself with? I was intentional about my personal board of directors. Who was I spending time with? Who was I learning from? I mean, mindset is so crucial in life, but really in this world of insurance and agency ownership. I was surrounding myself with people who are going to lift me up and speak my name when I wasn't in the room. And those are ultimately the things that I think led to the opportunity to be tapped on the shoulder and start getting into those conversations of what would leadership look like.
I love this so much because even as I was asking the question, I'm like, wait, this applies to anyone. If anyone is trying to make some kind of jump or leap in their career, like what skill sets do they need to be working on? What things do they need to be paying attention to? Mindset becomes this kind of like big blanket thing that we just kind of talk about. I'd be curious if there was something that you watched, something that you read, something that you started practicing that really shifted your mindset into that growth, mentorship, learner mindset.
Yeah, so I was very fortunate to have a lot of really good mentors throughout really my entire career here at Farm Bureau, and really I'd take it back even further in life. I talked about that personal board of directors of who am I leaning on to go ask questions of, who are going to make me maybe not the smartest person in the room, who's going to challenge me and build me up. And I can't say enough about that. Those relationships and those people, I think, it wasn't something I was reading. I was learning through their life experiences. And every person has a story and knowledge to share. And when you can tap into that from people who are older, wiser, more experienced than you, like you're going to maybe save yourself a little bit of time and get to the answer quicker. However, when it comes to self-development, I mean, I'm always reading something. I typically have a book on my nightstand and an audiobook going at the same time. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm continually growing inside of that space as well. I think the one, probably if I had to identify one leadership opportunity, I did a little bit of a series and segment with John Maxwell and some of his study and leadership materials. That high road leader mentality, really starting to think through that and applying that a little bit early on in my career, I think was one of the things that set me up for some success. And I am actually revisiting some of his work currently as well. But that would be one book or series or leadership seminar or training. He has so much content out there to tap into as well.
What book are you currently reading?
I was going to ask the same thing.
I was just going to say the High Road Leadership book is the one that's actually playing on Audible right now for me. And so I've read it multiple times at this point, but I'm going back to it. I think that one is one that every stage of life, you're going to think differently through the lens, and it applies to everything. So that one I revisit somewhat frequently.
Okay. High Road Leadership. That's great.
Yeah.
And you also said you just finished Buy Back Your Time. Is that right? By Dan Martell?
No, I didn't just finish Buy Back Your Time. But that one is really good. If you haven't read Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time, and you're in an agency ownership role or a leadership role, my goodness, that is probably my leading favorite right now. I seem to keep referencing back to that one. I'm at a season in my life where I'm getting pulled in a lot of different directions. So being very intentional and then holding myself accountable to those pieces is something that I'm constantly focusing on and coaching myself on right now. And that Buy Back Your Time book has so many good nuggets inside of it. That one's really good also.
Okay, we got to go. We got to go right into it because you just said the thing that we're all feeling. I feel this too, where I feel like Stretch Armstrong, like I'm being scattered and pulled in every single direction. And I'm really having to think about, aside from having more time, how do I become more efficient? Like I'm not willing to add in more hours to the day because I don't have them. So how do I be more efficient? So let's dive into that a little bit and let's start sharing kind of what you're seeing, especially from the leadership position, the recruiting position. What are top agencies doing? What are top producers doing that's kind of setting them apart a little bit?
Yeah. So this one, oh my goodness, I could spend a lot of time on it. The year of 2024, my word of the year was accountability. Scary word to take on for yourself, but I did. Because I felt that Stretch Armstrong analogy that you just used, really over all aspects of my life. Being a mom, being a leader to our agency field force, still finding time for myself, still finding time for personal relationships and friendships. I'm the oldest of 6 kids. How in the world am I going to spend time with my siblings and my parents? So I was in the same boat, and I had to get really intentional about my time. And then I had to make sure I had accountability partners and everything I was trying to be intentional about. So that is one area I could go on for days inside of that topic. But I think why I share that personal story is it relates so much to our world of insurance. If you want to get better and focus on the things that are high priority, you have to be intentional about it. This isn't just going to come by saying, okay, all of a sudden I need to I need to be better. We have to have some thinking time. We need to sit down. We have to strategize. And we have to plan to take on that intentional approach to our days and to the time that we're gifted. And then probably more important, we need to hold ourselves accountable to it. So for everything that I am taking on, who's going to be my check-in partner to make sure I'm getting those things done? And you can be creative inside of that. My kids are my accountability partners. We have family goals. They're very excited about them. Sometimes they'll ask me about where we're at and like, shoot, if the kids are bringing it up, like, have I been intentional, right? So the accountability partners don't have to be in that sense of really stuffy accountability all the time. It's just who's going to check you on what you say you're going to do. So be mindful of that. When it comes to our agency owners, this is an area that we spend a lot of our time coaching around is how do we become more, how do we be better inside of the time that we have inside of our agencies as the principal owner, the agency owner. And ultimately it comes down to, first and foremost, you have to understand what your high payoff activities are. As the agency owner, what do you need to be doing that you absolutely can't delegate? What's on your shoulders and your shoulders alone? And to me, I think some of those we say are obvious, but it's tough to stick to them. So is it building your teams? Is it building relationships with your clients? Is it strategy and vision? These are things that agency owners should be working on. We still struggle with that to stay inside of those high payoff activities. We see agents who struggle. They like perfection. So they want to do it their way. They know they do it best. I was sharing with you guys before we started, my kind of phrase currently is 80% done by somebody else is 100% awesome. So don't get caught up in the perfection. They're never going to be as good at you at it if you don't delegate that activity to them and then coach them how to become as good as you were. You have to start by giving it up. We also see them take the short.
By the way, for any of you that are like, yeah, I'm a perfectionist. That's why I'm not delegating. I can do it better. That may all be true, but let's have an honest conversation with each other. You're a control monster. Like
100%.
I'm a recovering control monster. 100%. I understand.
We all are. We all are. We're all
because there's a sense of like there's a sense of safety and security and control. If I can control what is being done, I control the output, I control the circumstances around me. There's security in that. That's why all of us chose the profession that we did. Like we want to manage risks, so we're going to control this baby. But I wanted to like drill this down a little bit more because I think I'm just going to relate this to an example that I recently had to go through because we were in a marketing meeting and they were asking me what's priority. And for me, my answer is always everything's priority. Everything is number one, like full send. We got to go. And it's, you have to be honest. You can't have everything be a priority. You have to pick and choose. So I had to start choosing something easier than determining priority were the things, and I'm going to speak really candid, things I didn't give a shit about. Like things that somebody else could handle that I knew didn't make or break if it didn't go the way I wanted it to go. Like a graphic looking a certain way. I can let that go. Like an email title or copy or all of those things. So if we can just spend some time providing some clarity around what are some things, suggestions on maybe go or no go as an agency owner that you're like, these are things that I would be focusing on that are some high income activities.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly it. Is it something that's going to generate revenue to the agency? And we just have to be really specific about that. Or is it developing somebody else so that they're going to be able to generate revenue to the agency? I think that piece is huge. And you touched on something, Courtney, there that I want to highlight. I lead with this question oftentimes. So we go through an exercise. I'll back up a step here. We go through an exercise of tell me about last week. Tell me all of the things that you did. Jot them down. And of those items, what are the high payoff activities? What are those things we just talked about that are the high revenue generating activities to your agency? And the agents are typically going to know, and then they're going to recognize that they got caught up doing something like choosing a marketing graphic that took way too much time, that if they were more intentional, they could have delegated that to somebody else. The other question I like to follow up the exercise with is, did that activity bring you joy? If the answer is no, I would still consider delegating it to somebody else. If it's something that's still a revenue generating activity and you just do not find any joy in doing that activity, get rid of it. That is going to lead to burnout. If you continue to fill your days with activities you despise, you are going to no longer love being in this career. And if you don't love what you're doing, you're not making the impact that you signed up for.
And you quit doing it. Like, we're always going to choose the path of least resistance. So if you don't enjoy it, if there's no
100%.
joy in it, it becomes sticky and you start putting resistance around it and you're going to try to avoid it anyways.
Now, the only caveat to this is, and we all know this, like in your first 3 years as a business owner, sometimes you just have to do some shit that you don't like to do. You have to sacrifice, you have to get it done. But the point we're trying to make here is probably the point that all of us have suffered from, is not delegating soon enough and holding on to these little things that we could have delegated faster, but the control monster inside of us, and I'm speaking from myself personally, is I always told myself, well, it's going to take me so much time to train this person to do it, and then I know they're still going to get it wrong, when I can just take the 15, 20 minutes a day, just get it done, knock it out, it's done quick, it's efficient. But in all reality, if you don't start to delegate those little things, you're not going to learn the skills necessary to develop others, to lead others, to delegate. And by being a control monster and trying to do everything yourself because you are a perfectionist, or it's more efficient, whatever story you're telling yourself is actually going to keep you small throughout time. So sure, in the very beginning, awesome. You probably are doing a lot, but if you don't start to develop that delegation backbone and that skill set of what it looks like, what the training looks like, developing the processes and systems, the accountability, you're never going to be able to grow to your full potential because you're going to stay small, period. And so I think that's the point we're trying to really get, at least that's the point I'm trying to get across, is like when you start to feel like you should be delegating, that's a good sign that you probably should have started probably 3 months ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Agents, you no longer have to choose between training your team and growing your business. I want to introduce you to Agency Coach AI. This is a full-time 24/7 coach and trainer at you and your team's fingertips that reports directly to you or the sales manager. This thing is amazing. Just like a true sales trainer or coach, it is going to practice and role play with your team, each individual, every single day. It's then going to coach them after that practice session. It's going to recommend trainings if they need additional training. And then it's going to report directly to you or the sales manager on exactly how that practice session went. No more wondering if the team is practicing or if they're not practicing. Also, it's going to plug right into the live sales calls. It's going to listen to every single conversation that comes into the office or goes out of the office every single day. No more wondering what is happening on the sales conversations. It's going to be documented for you word for word, and then the coach and trainer is going to coach your team on what they did well, what they could have improved on, recommended trainings, and it's going to give you a detailed report on exactly what that team member said during the call, what they were coached on, and what training was recommended. This is just the beginning. There is so much more to this. So if you are ready to have more transparency and more accountability in your agency than ever before, if you're ready to have your time back, if you're ready to know what's happening in your agency, regardless if you're there or not, this is now a reality. I would tell you, in my opinion, this is going to be one of the most valuable tools, if not most valuable tool you've ever had the opportunity to invest in. And it is one of a kind. It is unique. Nothing like this is currently available for insurance professionals like you. So please go to agencycoachai.com or just shoot me a text, 816-727-7610, and let's get a time on the calendar. I promise you it will be worth your time. Other than that, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think just like everything, delegation is a skill that we have to develop. And it's going to take time to develop and want to give things up. I think it's an evaluation of what are we doing that we can quickly give up, that are small tasks that can then grow into bigger ones. And I think the one thing that we need to be thinking through, especially if we're new in this career, we maybe don't have the bad habits of not delegating, or if we're more veteran and recognize that this is a weakness for us, it's something we need to be intentional about. It's something that I'd add to your list of development for, because I really feel like when it comes to hiring in the future, you're going to struggle to retain top talent if you cannot delegate. And here's why. Millennials and Gen Z, great, they absolutely want ownership in what they're doing inside of any role. They don't want to just be given directions and say, go execute. They want ownership in it. They want to be able to make decisions. They want to lead projects. And they most importantly want to know that their work matters. So they're not going to be order takers anymore. And if we can't delegate, we are going to struggle. The best are going to leave us.
We actually, in one of our presentations, we present on one of this, and you're absolutely right. Fulfillment in the job place and something meaningful. If they do not have those two things out of their top, because these are two in the top 5 that they're looking for in what they do every single day, you're not going to hold on to them for very long. You're probably not even going to attract them to the opportunity. But even if you do somehow get lucky enough to attract them, if they're not fulfilled or doing something meaningful and they're just task product pushers, basically, they're gone.
Well, we also have to think about where we're headed from a technology standpoint.
Yep.
We are becoming super efficient with automations, with AI, with tech. So what we really need in our workforce is people that can critically solve big problems. Like, we need to be able to say, this is the problem, but there comes some psychological safety that you have to instill within your team of being okay with making mistakes. And I think that is also a skill set, since we're diving into delegation, is knowing that it might not be done the way that you've done this thing before, probably won't be, and it might come back wrong. And that's okay. Yeah. Like, learning how to coach to that. I love that we're having this conversation, because I feel like in agency, there's all of these little things, but there are like major problems that we're always trying to solve, but we don't give it space to actually talk through different solutions.
So what you were just hitting on, though, that was a problem I always had. Was I had a process for everything, which is great, but I wanted it done my way, and I really wasn't super open to getting off of that process. And one of the complaints I had from a couple team members were like, what does it matter if, as long as it gets done? And I'm like, that is actually a valid point.
How long did that take you to get to that realization?
Oh gosh, longer than it should have. As you know, I'm pretty stubborn. So I would say
almost 14 years together, I'd tell you for sure.
I really don't know time frame wise. I would say at least 6 months to a year. Like, I definitely push back on like not changing the process. This is the process, this is how we do the process. In all reality, what we do now is I'm very open, and that's what we say now. Like, hey, here's the process, but we're very open to changes within the process. If there is a better way of doing it, if they're more efficient, if it just, as long as it gets done, that's really what we're focused on. And I think that is an area where we've both grown through the last 5 years or so. And that has come from owning multiple businesses as well, because you have to be open to others' ideas, because that's what empowers them and gives them what you were saying, Alyssa, like ownership in that role, in that task. Like, if they have no opinion, if you're not open, again, then that's not really, they're not going to own that, because they have to just do the task.
Yeah. I think the one thing that we're all saying, when we think about delegation in the past, I think we think of delegation as this productivity hack. That's not true anymore. Delegation is a leadership strategy. If you can't delegate, you're going to struggle to lead the next generation. So I think it's something we need to get much better at as leaders trying to drive our field force or trying to drive our agencies. We have to build trust. As mentioned, we have to trust them to go and try it. They may break it the first time, but when we say to them, I trust you to do something that's going to impact the future of this agency, the future of my business, that right there is currency to the next generation. And it's really just going to be what drives them so much more than compensation. It's the currency, giving them trust and giving them ownership in something that they can go do to completion on their own. And then you can give them the feedback.
So I think this even goes back to when we're talking about recruiting, which is always a huge conversation that we're having, is really even positioning like the open position that we have. Like, how are we referring to it? What are the responsibilities? What does the growth plan look like? What's the impact that this position makes on the agency? I think we have to really rethink all of this instead of just having order takers and people who can just check things off a list to the topic that we're having. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on that, Alyssa.
Yeah, I think that as we're looking for people who we can truly delegate to and feel comfortable in passing our trust to, it comes back to recruiting. And I'll tell you, most things in my world are about one stepping stone away from coming back to recruiting. I think if we can recruit, nothing else matters, right? So at the end of the day, you're spot on. We need to find ways to evaluate talent and make sure we're bringing on board people who are critical thinkers, who are going to go take ownership inside of these roles, and really someone who we're going to feel that we can give our confidence to of going out and getting the job done. Which really, when you think through recruiting processes, I think that's another area that as agency owners, what are we doing to get talent in the door so that we do feel comfortable to delegate our tasks and responsibilities to grow our agency to the next level? And that's a topic we can certainly dive into a little bit more.
Yeah, I would love to hear that because I have questions around streamlining efficiencies in the recruiting process, and also like, how are we, like, some questions that we can ask, who, like, what are some strategies that the top agencies are doing that you're seeing that it's working really well right now
to attract talent?
Yeah, we're at, almost Q4 2025. What's working in the market currently?
Yeah, so there's, I think, a lot of things that are working, but I think the biggest thing that I'm seeing from my seat is how are we creating connectivity to our opportunity? How are we getting the message out there? How are we creating brand awareness? The value proposition that you're selling to these recruits or potential hires, I mean, it's ultimately the biggest sale that you're ever going to make inside of your agency. So how are you positioning yourself as an attractive opportunity for people that they're going to want to raise their hand and come join your team? If you don't have a good strategy around that as an agency owner, I would spend some time thinking through that strategy. How am I going to get the message out to a lot of people to attract them to what I have going on in the culture that you're building, the opportunity that is existent inside of your agency? And the other piece, actually going back to delegation, I'd be thinking through is, what are the systems and tools that you're using to streamline this recruiting process and take all of those candidates who now have this brand awareness of your opportunity? You're getting them into the top of the funnel. How are you moving them through and evaluating what is hopefully a really large number of potential candidates? I can share a lot of our agents, this goes back to delegation, they're not doing all the initial seeking out and gathering resumes and applicants. They're not doing the initial interview. They're having that pre-sourcing done. At Farm Bureau Insurance here in Michigan, a lot of our agents are using what's called Evergreen Agency Talent, which is going to be the platform, the CRM that's going to send out to all the major job boards, get the posting out there. It comes in the funnel. They do the pre-screening, and our agency owners oftentimes aren't sitting down with the candidate unless they've been pre-screened and to have a good understanding of what the agency looks like, what those expectations are going to be going in. So just a better use of our agents' time, again, being intentional about where they're spending their time. They're using Evergreen Agency Talent on the front end to just really streamline the process, and they're getting really good return from that.
Yeah. And recruiting's like everything else. It's a funnel, just like every other sales cycle. And if you don't have a process that is consistently recruiting for new talent, when you do need new talent, your funnel is going to be empty. And then you have a 3-month delay, which crushes your business. And so a large majority of customers we work with, they all use some type of staffing agency or company to help them. Like a large, now there are some
you have to.
There are some wildly successful agents out there that do have their own recruiting strategies, but it's consistent. They're like Josiah, for example. He's in at like 30 minutes every day working LinkedIn. But he has a process and he enjoys that. Most people hate that. Like, that is something I just hated. So why would you not hire somebody that is really inexpensive on a monthly basis? And think about all the tools that are coming out, just like Agency Coach AI. Like, now there's a tool that you could have a new person, a recruit, sit in front of our role play and actually train and role play with somebody before you even decide to hire them, so you can see their communication skills, you can see how fast of a learner they are, how coachable they are. Like, there are a lot of really great tools out there, and with AI, the tools are going to be even better, that are going to allow you to make much better decisions from the very get-go and let you know exactly who you're bringing on to your team from at least a skill set standpoint. There's obviously that culture fit that is, I think, is always the hard part in navigating with brand new people. Like, are you going to fit? Or are you not going to fit? Because they all say they're the greatest in the world and they're a team player.
Well, I think I was actually watching Susie Welch, who has done a lot on like your value system, values bridging, and like what's important to you, and creating like a hierarchy. And she brought up something that I never really considered, is that all organizations, so every agency has a value system, like regardless of if it's spoken or if it's not. We have a hierarchy of what's important. Maybe it's speed, maybe it's service, maybe it's there's all these different things of like, maybe it's magic, maybe it's like surprise, like all these different things. And she said, if you don't communicate that, even though you're not saying it, it's still there. And that's something that you need to be talking about in your messaging, because people are going to align with value systems of organizations. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this becomes this like living, breathing thing. Like your business is a living, breathing thing.
We talk about this with our agents. So we have a document that we utilize with all of our agency owners to identify what their core values are as an individual and how they relate to their agency. And then absolutely, you are spot on. If you are not turning those core values or the things that are important to you into interview questions to ask the candidates to make sure that they're going to be a good cultural and core value fit to your team, you're really missing the boat. Not only should you be sharing what they are throughout the recruiting process, but you should be asking them how they feel about them. And it's a good way to get to know them as well. But yeah, I think there has to be alignment with who you're onboarding and what your agency believes in. If not, it's just going to be a really painful experience for both you and them.
Yeah. And they're a fit for somebody. I think that's the thing that a lot of times when we go through this hiring process, just because they're not a fit for you doesn't mean they're not a fit in the insurance industry. Like there's definitely fits all across the board. Alyssa, before we wrap this up, I would be curious if you had to give some advice to an agency owner or a producer about what to delegate, what not to delegate. I would love to hear your take on that before we wrap.
Yeah, I mean, again, we kind of have said it a couple of times today, but what are the things that bring you the most joy? What are the things that you know are driving the most revenue and the most value to your agency, to your clients, to your team? Focus on those. And delegate the things that are more of your to-do list. I mean, I love a to-do list just like everybody else, but if our to-do list is just keeping us busy and it's not anything that's measurable to move us towards our agency goals, we've got to get rid of them as quickly as possible, because they're making us feel good about ourselves, because we're checking the box. Our scoreboard looks good at the end of the day, but we're absolutely not moving towards our goal, and we're not being intentional about our time. Ultimately, we're just going to get caught up in that hamster wheel of day-to-day activities that never move the needle. So I just think that evaluation, that self-reflection is important. Spend some time thinking about where you're spending your time, and it's going to serve you well.
I love what you just said, and I want everyone to hear this. Like, if you get to the end of your day and you're like, man, I was busy, but what did I actually accomplish today? This is a good sign that you're probably doing a lot of the wrong things. And so Alyssa gave two really good things earlier in the conversation I just want to highlight. Is if you've never done this before, prioritize your time by actually like tracking what you're doing. So go a week or go 2 or 3 days and just track or write down what you do every 30 minutes. If you do this for just 2 or 3 days, Courtney and I do this just about once a quarter, you're going to find that you get back into some of those things that you delegated, some of those things that you stepped away from. They just work themselves back into your calendar. So make sure that you do that, and then ask yourself, can't you delegate out of those things that you're doing? I think that would be a really good starting point right now at the end of this episode that would give you an idea on what does my day and week look like? And then out of all of this stuff that we're doing, what can't I delegate? Because what can't you delegate is going to be very few things compared to everything else. And then how can we delegate the rest?
I'm going to have just like a tiny segue off of this, because we've been very like practical and strategy, and I'm going to just throw a little woo in here. A little woo.
Ready for the woo.
Ready for the woo. Because the thing, I understand this. I have a tiny red notebook. It's like Blue's Clues, and it follows me around, and it's my to-do list. And the thing that I have noticed is it doesn't matter if I cross everything off the list if I didn't do something that excited me that day. So I think if you struggle, because joy is not an emotion that we've been taught to really carve out. We are very much like work hard, get it done, be productive, like, make good use of your time. Like,
We got shit to do.
We got shit to do. We're Americans. Like,
Absolutely.
it happen. But I think a question that I've recently started asking myself in my career is what excites me, because it's more of a body reaction. It's more of like listening to my gut. And I think, again, when technology continues to evolve, the humanity side of us is really, don't miss those little nudges of things that you're like, oh, I really love this. Even if everyone says delegate that thing, if this is the thing that you're like, oh my God, I'm so excited to do this, my plea to you would be keep that thing.
Keep that thing.
'Cause that's a spark. That is a spark. So I had to throw some woo because we were
I agree with that.
we are so in it.
Yeah.
But
I love that.
we gotta chase those little fires.
Absolutely. What's exciting on your daily basis, it's going to drive your energy, and energy is absolutely currency inside of getting things done and having yourself have a successful day, week, month, year. So pay attention to that. What gets you excited? I love that. Great advice, Courtney.
You just gave me goosebumps when you're like, energy is currency. I'm like, yeah, baby, it is the currency.
It is
the currency.
Alyssa, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, connect with you, maybe ask you questions, maybe find out more about the Farm Bureau opportunity in Michigan, like how do they do that?
Yeah, they can find me on LinkedIn. They can find me on the Farm Bureau career website. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Happy to share my email. Happy to share my phone number. But yeah, I'd be happy to connect, share more. Relationships are key, and I'm always happy to invite more people in and share and learn from them as well. And then before we wrap up, Courtney, Michael, I just want to say thank you guys for not only the opportunity to be on here, but what you're doing inside of this industry to make an impact, to provide training, leadership, education, bring technology to our agent field force. It is awesome. It's not unnoticed. We appreciate you guys a ton. You're huge difference makers for us right now. So thank you for that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That means a lot.
Yeah, you're
Seriously.
welcome.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm enjoying getting to know you guys more, and it's agents need to be following what you're doing just as much as they reach out and follow me. So,
Thank you.
Thank you, Alyssa.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah, we're all just trying to make a difference.
100%.
I think that's why you get up every single day. That's why you, the agent, you, the producer, like you get up and you're like, I just want to genuinely make my mark here and
Absolutely.
take care of the people that I love. So thanks for being a part of this. I
Yeah,
love this
absolutely.
episode.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Absolutely, Alyssa. Have a great day. And for all of those of you tuning in, as always, time and attention are by far our most important assets. And I'm just not saying this. I mean it. We appreciate the hell out of you. So thank you so much. We love you. Go out and make it great.